Did you notice at least 2 Easter eggs on display on Sheldon and Leonard's fridge? And did Sheldon really always sit in his optimal spot on the couch? And what prop from the apartment proved to be very important in the show's finale? Hi, I'm Peter, and you're watching OSSA. I'm going to show you the tiniest little detail in Sheldon and Leonard's apartment in The Big Bang Theory that you may have overlooked. Do you remember the apartment number where our favourite gang of nerds hung out most of the time? Well, if you're a real fan, you should recall that it was apartment 4A. But you probably never thought about whether that meant anything special. After all, it's not as obvious as Amy's apartment number, which, for example, we all know is the first 3 digits of pi, 314. But in Sheldon and Leonard's case, it's just 4A. Not exactly mind-blowing mathematics, right? Well, according to the Big Bang Theory fandom, that's because we've been looking at the wrong discipline. It's not a maths Easter egg at all, but an English language one. When you say 4A, it sounds similar to the word foray, which according to the Cambridge Dictionary means a short period of time being involved in an activity that is different from a usual set of activities. So does that mean that everyone who enters the apartment kind of has to take a step out of their comfort zone? Well, when you think about it, the answer's yes. Penny's an obvious example, constantly challenged by a group of scientists who talk about stuff she just doesn't understand. Meanwhile, Leonard is forced to cope with Sheldon's peculiar and highly specific quirks, which is certainly no walk in the park. And Sheldon himself changes a lot, learning to become more emotional and understanding as the series progresses. Then again, according to others in the Big Bang Theory fandom, Foray could also be a reference to June Foray, a voice actress who's known for voicing Rocky the Flying Squirrel. What do you think is the true meaning behind this potential Easter egg? Now that we've grasped just how important the apartment number could be, let's take a closer look at the building's address. Devoted fans know that Sheldon and Leonard's official address is 2311 North Las Robles, Pasadena, California, the United States, Earth, the solar system, the Milky Way. But it seems to have changed at least once. At the end of the episode, The Countdown Reflection, when Howard and Bernadette get married on the roof, a speedy zoom shows us a Google Earth shot of the location. And it's actually 215 South Madison Avenue. And it's no wonder that they couldn't show the North Los Robles location at this point. After all, it's totally fictional. And even the view from the apartment window is nothing but a photo taken in Pasadena. Sure, the address 2311 North Los Robles exists, but if you go there on Google Maps, there are no apartment buildings there. Funnily enough, Los Robles and South Madison Avenue are both located minutes away from each other. And while the apartment's location is fictional, it still has some perks that no other apartment could ever have. Like an apartment flag. A gold lion rampant on a field of azure. That's what a keen vexillologist like Sheldon would say. We see the flag appear in the show quite a few times. Sheldon was holding it while Leonard and he were signing the roommate agreement, for example. And we also saw a full-size version of it in Sheldon's Fun with Flags, where it was given pride of place right next to the flag of the United States. But our most vivid memory that you'll certainly recall was when Leonard was doing his laundry while wearing it, and nothing else. But if you were attentive enough, you would have noticed the flag even more often. It was featured as a magnet on Sheldon and Leonard's fridge, and it would always reflect the current state of affairs, just like a real naval flag. If the apartment was in a situation of distress, for example, it would be turned upside down. Take a closer look at the fridge and you'll see that Sheldon followed this rule rather strictly. Whenever Leonard and Sheldon were going through tough times, the flag will always let you know. But that's not the only Easter egg that you can spot on the fridge in apartment 4A. When Penny finally moved in with Leonard, she took all the photos from her fridge to their apartment. And if you missed this particular detail, let me remind you that the photos on Penny's fridge didn't just feature herself and her co-stars, but also the people who worked behind the scenes on The Big Bang Theory too. It was a nice tribute to everyone who made the show so popular. But an even nicer blink and you miss it tribute appeared after the death of one of the main actresses. You may never have seen her on the show, but you'd almost certainly have recognized her voice anywhere. We're talking, of course, about Carol Ann Susi, who is the unforgettable voice of Howard's mother. After she passed away in real life and Mrs. Wolowitz passed away on the show, her small photo appeared on the fridge in Penny and Leonard's apartment. And what makes this photo extra special and particularly touching is because while most fans didn't even know what Susie looked like, this uplifting Easter egg was specially for the crew of the show. Let's move on from the kitchen and take a closer look at the other parts of the apartment. Since the nerds have lived there for so long, it's obvious that it's packed with nerdy stuff. There was so much of everything from collectibles to artwork that Howard even called the apartment Nerdvana in Season 1's episode, The Nerdvana Annihilation. Obviously, Sheldon and Leonard enjoyed everything about Doctor Who, DC Comics, Star Trek, Star Wars, and other geeky masterpieces. So it's almost impossible to see every tiny piece of memorabilia in their apartment because it's so jam-packed with so many of them. In an interview with CNN, geek legend Will Wheaton revealed that Leonard and Sheldon even had an Aquaman figure that was flashing the Vulcan Live Long and Prosper salute. Did you catch it? Mayim Bialik also disclosed in the same interview that one of her own personal textbooks on genetics was also in the apartment. Then there was the Batman cookie jar, the Game of Thrones sword, game starter sets on bookshelves, Nebula posters, the Smeagol figures, and Lord of the Rings. Doesn't that sound like nerd heaven? And what about the huge DNA model? Most viewers didn't pay it any mind until the series finale, where it played a small but vital role. But we'll get back to that later. There's a lot of science talk in The Big Bang Theory, and so in many scenes in Sheldon and Leonard's apartment, we can quite naturally see whiteboards with equations written all over them. Most of us might not have really paid close attention to them, because most people aren't physicists after all and wouldn't have any idea whether or not any of these equations were actually accurate. But in fact, they were. Since day one, the show employed UCLA professor David Saltzberg, who would help them avoid scientific or academic mistakes, and would also check the equations for them. And then another scientist, Mayim Bialik, joined the show as a regular and was also able to verify this sort of stuff. We can only praise this level of adherence to accuracy, though there wasn't always scientific accuracy that took the front seat. In the episode The Raiders Minimization, the whiteboards feature equations from Raiders of the Lost Ark, and they're completely wrong. However, we can assume that the crew did this on purpose, because it was the same episode where Amy ruined the Indiana Jones movies for Sheldon, the whole gang, and heck, for all of us too. So perhaps this was another nod to the inaccuracy of the renowned film. What do you think? Moving on. Do you remember how Sheldon never joked about safety? Remember how he had to live with Raj for some time in Season 4 and introduced him to the apartment safety measures? These measures included luminous glow-in-the-dark arrows on the floor that pointed to a number of emergency exits. An attentive fan would have had to ask the question, if these arrows glow in the dark and we've seen Sheldon's original apartment with no lights on a number of times, how is this the only time we saw them? Well, let me explain. No, actually, it's better that I let Sheldon explain. Because as Sheldon reveals in one of the episodes of Season 5, he removed the arrows when he found out they were extremely carcinogenic. But he never shared any alternative way of directing the inhabitants of the apartment to safety in case of an emergency. Did he just refuse to find a replacement and let it be? That doesn't sound much like Sheldon at all. What isn't very much like Sheldon either is him sitting at random spots around the apartment. Right from the very first episode, we know how much Dr. Cooper loves his spot on the couch. We find out how much he hates sitting elsewhere and how much he doesn't want others to sit on it. Well, except for his Meemaw, of course. But more than a few times, Sheldon seems surprisingly okay with letting others take his spot. For example, in the bat jar conjecture, Leonard sat there and Sheldon just took the chair. In another instance, the spot was taken by Raj and Sheldon also didn't seem to mind at all. It's unclear how no one noticed this kind of inconsistency on set, especially since the actor Jim Parsons himself held the spot in very high regard. In an interview with CNN, the actor revealed, "I do have a unique relationship with Sheldon's spot on the couch." Apparently, it's because it helped him to figure out where he should start a scene. 9 times out of 10, I started on the spot on that couch. It's as close as I think I'll ever get to Archie Bunker's chair. Still, we should let Sheldon's sudden flexibility remain a mystery, as we now need to move on to the next detail. In sitcoms, we usually only see 3 walls on set because the 4th wall serves as a view into the apartment and is where all the episodes are filmed from. But did you notice that we actually saw the 4th wall not once, but twice on The Big Bang Theory? The first time it was shown in the 2nd season episode, The Euclid Alternative, when Sheldon was looking at the gang hanging out in the living room from the hallway that led to their bedrooms. And the second time we saw it was in The Colonization Application in Season 8 in Sheldon's Mars application video, where he threw a cake in Leonard's face to demonstrate his questionable sense of humor. I guess The Big Bang Theory quite literally broke the 4th wall, am I right? And here's the final Easter egg from Apartment Foray that was dropped only in the very last episode of the show. Remember how Leonard tried to move the DNA model that was standing in the corner, and it ended up disintegrating into hundreds of pieces, finally discovering why Sheldon never wanted him to even touch it. Turns out the guy had his reasons. Leonard and Sheldon then had to spend a lot of time reconstructing it. The first line in the series finale is Leonard saying, "This might be the glue talking, but that was a very pleasurable 139.5 hours. Well, this number didn't come out of nowhere. As Johnny Galecki later revealed to USA Today, that is the amount of hours of television we've made here collectively on the stage. And he added that these 139.5 hours weren't only pleasurable for his character, but also for the actor in real life too. They were a dream come true for all of us here, and it's not ever lost on us," Galecki said. Johnny, it was a dream for all of us too. Thank you for every single one of those 139.5 hours. Did any of you eagle-eyed fans notice some of these details? And is there anything else you'd like to know about your favorite show? Let us know in the comments, and we'll tell you all about them in our next video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to learn even more exciting news about your favorite actors. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay awesome.